The headlines scream a truth many of us feel deep in our bones. On May 21, 2025, 2 Israeli embassy staff were tragically killed in Washington, D.C. This was not a random act of violence. It was an act linked directly to the ancient hatred of anti-Semitism, a chilling reminder that this poison flows even in the heart of American democracy. This incident is not an outlier. It is a brutal exclamation point at the end of a sentence that has been growing longer and more menacing for years. American Jews are looking over their shoulders. They are questioning their place. They are wondering if the country that promised them safety can still deliver on that promise. The air is thick with a tension that is both new and terrifyingly familiar. Following the horrific Hamas attacks of October 7, 2023, the Anti-Defamation League reported a staggering 361% increase in anti-Semitic incidents in the United States in just 3 months. For the full year of 2024, the ADL recorded 9,354 anti-Semitic incidents, a 5% rise from the already high levels of 2023. These aren't just statistics. They represent real people, real fear, real attacks on synagogues, Jewish community centers, businesses, and individuals. The American Jewish Committee's 2024 report echoes this, with 90% of American Jews stating that anti-Semitism has indeed increased since those dark days in October 2023. According to the AJC, 77% of American Jews reported feeling less safe in the U.S. due to the October 7th attacks. More alarmingly, 56% of American Jews admitted to altering their behavior in 2024 out of fear of anti-Semitism. The challenge before us is immense: to find shelter, yes, but more importantly, to find a way to stop the storm itself. America has always held a unique place in the Jewish imagination. For centuries, it was the Golden Land. It was a sanctuary, a place where those fleeing persecution, pogroms, and systemic discrimination in Europe and elsewhere could dream of a life lived in freedom and safety. Waves of Jewish immigrants arrived on these shores, from the Sephardic Jews in the colonial era to the massive influx of Ashkenazi Jews from Eastern Europe in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, and later, those escaping the Holocaust and oppression in Soviet Russia and Arab lands. They came seeking not just economic opportunity, but the fundamental human right to exist without fear, to practice their faith, and to build a future for their children. This promise of refuge is a cornerstone of the American identity itself. Upon arrival, these immigrants faced the daunting task of building new lives from scratch. They established vibrant communities, constructing synagogues that became centers of religious and social life, and founding institutions dedicated to education, charity, and mutual support. They contributed immeasurably to every facet of American society in business, science, arts, academia, and public service. Yet, the American story for Jews has never been one of uninterrupted acceptance. Anti-Semitism is not a recent import. It is a recurring shadow that has stretched across American history. The current resurgence of anti-Semitism is a stark reminder that this test continues. The statistics are alarming, painting a picture of a nation grappling with a resurgent ancient hatred. The ADL documented 9,354 anti-Semitic incidents in the U.S. in 2024. This included a 21% increase in assaults, rising to 196 incidents, and a 20% increase in vandalism, reaching 2,606 incidents. Harassment incidents remained disturbingly high at 6,552. This wave of hate is multifaceted, manifesting in different forms but united by its common ugly root. One of the powerful accelerants for this surge is undoubtedly the digital world. Social media platforms have become fertile ground for the rapid spread of anti-Semitic tropes, misinformation, and outright hate speech. Algorithms can create echo chambers where extremist views are amplified and normalized, reaching vast audiences with terrifying speed. The anonymity afforded by the internet emboldens perpetrators, making it easier to harass and intimidate with little fear of immediate consequence. The increasingly polarized political landscape also plays a significant role. Anti-Semitism is a protean hate, capable of finding purchase on both the extreme political left and the far right. The challenge is to push back against this normalization, to re-establish clear boundaries of acceptable discourse, and to ensure that anti-Semitism is met with swift and unequivocal condemnation wherever it appears. America's college campuses, traditionally seen as bastions of free inquiry, have become alarming hotspots for anti-Semitism. The ADL reported an 84% increase in anti-Semitic incidents on campuses in 2024. This includes harassment, vandalism, and an unsafe atmosphere for Jewish students. 35% of Jewish students reported experiencing anti-Semitism. Addressing this crisis requires a multi-pronged approach to ensure safety for all students. Section 5. Words as Weapons, Navigating Free Speech and Incitement. The struggle against anti-Semitism involves balancing free speech and criticism of Israel. Criticism of Israeli policies is not anti-Semitic. Israel should be subject to scrutiny and debate. The line is crossed when criticism uses anti-Semitic tropes or questions Israel's right to exist. This distinction is often blurred by those cloaking anti-Semitism as political commentary. The challenge is fostering debate without allowing hate to proliferate. Section 6. The Path of Knowledge, Education as a Bulwark Against Hate. A fundamental weapon in the fight against anti-Semitism, and indeed all forms of prejudice, is education. Ignorance breeds fear, and fear can easily curdle into hate. Currently, there are significant gaps in how American students learn about Jewish history, the Holocaust, and the multifaceted nature of anti-Semitism. According to recent reports, only 29 U.S. states currently mandate Holocaust education. This means that in nearly half the country, students may graduate high school with little to no understanding of one of history's most horrific genocides, or the anti-Semitic ideology that fueled it. Effective education must go beyond simply memorizing dates and death tolls. It needs to foster empathy, critical thinking, and a genuine understanding of Jewish history, culture, and the diversity of Jewish life. This includes teaching about the long and varied history of anti-Semitism, from its ancient roots to its modern manifestations on both the political left and right. Education serves as a powerful antidote to the stereotypes and conspiracy theories that underpin so much anti-Semitic thought. By exposing students to accurate information and diverse perspectives, we can help them develop the critical faculties to discern propaganda from truth. Ultimately, the goal is to cultivate a generation that is not only knowledgeable about anti-Semitism, but also committed to combating it. Section 7. Forging shields, the role of leadership and law. In times of rising hatred, the silence of leaders can be as damaging as the shouts of extremists. Clear, unequivocal condemnation of anti-Semitism from political, civic, and community leaders across the entire ideological spectrum is absolutely essential. This isn't a partisan issue, it's a moral one. When leaders speak out forcefully against anti-Jewish bigotry, they send a powerful message that such hate has no place in our society. They set a tone of intolerance for intolerance. Beyond words, concrete legislative actions are necessary to protect Jewish communities and institutions. The ADL and AJC have advocated for several key measures. Passing the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act would provide a clear definition of anti-Semitism for use in enforcing anti-discrimination laws, particularly in educational settings. Strengthening and fully funding the Nonprofit Security Grant Program is also crucial. This program provides vital resources for synagogues, Jewish schools, and community centers to enhance their security measures against potential attacks. A coordinated, government-wide approach is also vital. The U.S. National Strategy to Counter Anti-Semitism, released in 2023 and incorporating recommendations from organizations like the AJC, was a landmark step in this direction. Section 8. Strength in Numbers, the Power of Community and Alliance. In the face of rising anti-Semitism, the Jewish community itself has consistently demonstrated remarkable resilience and strength. Centuries of experience have taught the importance of mutual support, advocacy, and communal organization. Institutions like the American Jewish Committee and the Anti-Defamation League have long been at the forefront of monitoring hate, educating the public, advocating for protective policies, and supporting those targeted by anti-Semitism. Local synagogues, Jewish federations, and community centers serve as vital hubs for connection, cultural expression, and collective action. This internal cohesion provides not only comfort and solidarity but also a powerful engine for change and self-defense. However, the fight against anti-Semitism cannot be waged by the Jewish community alone. It requires broad-based alliances and robust interfaith dialogue. Building bridges with other minority groups who have also faced discrimination and hate is crucial. Shared experiences of prejudice can foster empathy and create powerful coalitions for justice and mutual respect. When diverse communities speak with one voice against hate, their message is amplified, sending a clear signal that anti-Semitism is an affront to all who value a pluralistic and inclusive society. Community action, in its broadest sense, is about weaving a tighter social fabric, one strong enough to resist the forces of division and hate. Section 9. Reclaiming the Promise, a call for American solidarity. The stark reality is that anti-Semitism is not merely a Jewish problem, it is profoundly an American problem. As the AJC's 2024 report indicates, an overwhelming 90% of U.S. adults believe that anti-Semitism affects society as a whole, and that everyone is responsible for combating it. This broad consensus is a source of hope, but it must be translated into sustained action. When any group in America is targeted for their identity, it tears at the very fabric of the nation's promise of liberty and justice for all. The hatred that begins with Jews rarely ends with Jews. Therefore, the responsibility to make America safe for Jews again, and indeed for all its citizens, rests on the shoulders of every American. Silence in the face of bigotry is complicity. Indifference allows hatred to fester and grow. Active allyship is required. This means speaking out against anti-Semitic incidents, whether they occur online, in the workplace, on campus, or in our neighborhoods. By working together, by embracing our shared responsibility, we can push back against the rising tide of anti-Semitism.